Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old box of coins, and discovering that a tiny brown penny, one you've ignored for decades, could be worth more than a mansion, a luxury car, or even your entire retirement portfolio. Sounds unbelievable, right? And yet, for a very specific and extremely rare version of the 1942 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, that unbelievable moment has already happened for a few lucky collectors, with current auction prices soaring as high as $942,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a single cent. And before this video ends, you'll know exactly what makes this unassuming coin so valuable, how to identify the right one, and whether you might already have a life-changing piece of American history hiding in your home. But let's start at the beginning. Back in 1942, the world was at war, resources were limited, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure like never before. Copper was needed for ammunition, military wiring, and essential wartime production. Yet the beloved Lincoln cent still had to be struck for everyday transactions. This tension between necessity and scarcity produced some of the rarest and most unusual pennies ever made. Most circulated Lincoln cents from that year are common, even boring. But a select few, due to minting errors, transitional compositions, and production anomalies, became the holy grail of numismatics. And here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Because somewhere in the chaos of wartime minting, an extremely small number of 1942 pennies were struck under unusual conditions. The exact origin is still debated by historians and mint specialists, but what's not debated is the extraordinary value these coins can reach today. One example recently shocked the market, closing at $942,000, leaving collectors stunned and even seasoned experts questioning how many more life-changing rarities might still be out there. Maybe even in your pocket change. Maybe even closer than that. But we'll come back to that. Before we dive into identifying features, it's important to understand why this particular penny has become so astronomically valuable. Serious collectors don't just chase rarity. They chase stories. They want pieces touched by history, born in extraordinary moments, and preserved long enough to become legends. The 1942 no-mint Mark penny carries the weight of wartime America. It's a reminder of a nation under pressure, citizens rationing goods, families praying over letters from overseas, factories running day and night. That emotional power, combined with scarcity, is what makes wealthy collectors willing to spend almost 7 figures on a coin worth 1 cent on paper. Fear of missing out only intensifies the frenzy. After all, when a coin sells for nearly $1 million, what does that tell other collectors? It signals that the next one could sell for even more. Now, here's where your heart might beat a little faster. Because the difference between a common 1942 penny and a near $1 million 1942 penny often comes down to small, subtle details most people overlook. Details you could learn in minutes. And once you know what to look for, you may never look at your change the same way again. Most 1942 pennies were struck in bronze, a simple blend of copper, tin, and zinc. Those are still collectible but rarely sell for more than a few dollars unless found in flawless condition. But a handful were struck using experimental or leftover planchets, thin metal blanks, intended for different coin types or different compositions. Some struck on transitional metals. Some struck with slight die imperfections. Some struck with unexpected properties that only surfaced decades later. That's why collectors pay so much today. Uncertainty breeds opportunity, and opportunity breeds urgency. And let's be honest, who doesn't feel a spark of excitement knowing a life-changing discovery could be hiding in a random drawer? Of course, there's one more twist. The highest value 1942 pennies usually come from minting errors so specific that experts can identify them through weight, color, and microscopic design details. That's why you should never assume a penny is just a penny. A quick glance could cause you to overlook a fortune. And admittedly, that would sting a little, like accidentally using a rare stamp to mail your utility bill. No one wants to be that person. So what exactly should you look for? For starters, check the weight. Rare variants tend to differ by fractions of a gram. Inspect the rim for unusual thickness, color inconsistencies, or sharpness. Look for doubled features in the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile. Examine the edges for signs of unusual metal composition. Even a tiny anomaly can signal a rare wartime minting accident. And here's a secret most casual collectors never hear. Sometimes the most valuable coins don't look shiny or perfect. They might appear dull or uneven. That's the magic of history. Imperfections tell a story, but even once you suspect you've found something extraordinary, the journey doesn't end there. In fact, that's when things get even more intense. Professional grading can elevate the value of a rare 1942 penny from thousands to hundreds of thousands, to nearly $1 million. Graders assign designations, verify authenticity, and classify errors with precision. A single grade point difference can change the value dramatically. Imagine thinking your coin is worth $1,000, only to learn it's actually worth $100,000. Or more. It happens more often than you'd think. And now comes the part that really separates wealthy sellers from those who miss out. Because having a valuable coin is one thing. Knowing how to sell it strategically is another. Today's market is hotter than ever. Wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums are aggressively competing for rare pieces, especially those from pivotal moments in history. If you position your coin correctly, authenticated, graded, photographed, and auctioned at the right time, you could capture the kind of windfall most people only dream of. And if you're thinking, is it really possible for one tiny penny to change my entire financial future? The answer is absolutely yes. It already has for others. But don't rush just yet. The next few moments in this video matter, because there's a mistake that could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many new sellers get overly excited and rush to list their coin on basic online marketplaces. That's like finding a treasure chest and then selling it at a yard sale. Strategic timing and the right platform can mean the difference between pocket change and powerhouse wealth. Rare coins tend to skyrocket during specific market cycles. And here comes a cliffhanger. Right now we are entering one of those cycles. Why? Because scarcity is increasing, demand is intensifying, and wealthy buyers are watching the market closely. Those who move at the right moment win big. So where does this leave you? With a choice. You can ignore this information, toss the coin back into a jar, and hope for the best. Or you can take the next step. Search your home, inspect your collection, revisit old boxes, and pay attention to the coins you once assumed were ordinary. Your financial future might be sitting quietly in a drawer, waiting to be recognized. Before we close, here's one final thought, half warning, half encouragement. Rare opportunities don't announce themselves. They appear as small, overlooked objects that only reveal their value to those who know how to look. And now, you know how to look. The 1942 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has already shocked the world with a sale of $942,000. The next record-breaking discovery could be yours. And imagine what that kind of wealth could mean. Freedom, security, choices, comfort for your family, the ability to live the lifestyle you've always envisioned. It starts with awareness. It continues with action. So check your pennies. Check them twice, because somewhere out there, another nearly $1 million Lincoln cent is waiting to be found. And the next life it transforms could be yours. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of pennies you've ignored for decades, and realizing that one of them, one tiny, ordinary-looking copper coin, could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? And yet, every year, Americans unknowingly throw rare pennies into coin machines, donation jars, and couch cushions without ever realizing what they just lost. Today, we're revealing the astonishing truth behind one of the most valuable regular-issue pennies in U.S. history, the 1944 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. A coin that, under the right conditions, has sold for up to millions of dollars and currently reaches market values as high as $944,000. So if you've ever wondered whether your old change could change your life, stay exactly where you are. Most people don't realize it, but hidden wealth doesn't always come in the form of gold bars locked inside bank vaults. Sometimes, it hides in something as small and familiar as a penny you've walked past 1,000 times. And the story of the 1944 Lincoln penny is a testament to the idea that real fortune often arrives quietly, disguised as something ordinary. But why is this particular coin so valuable? Why are collectors willing to pay life-changing money for a coin almost everyone once used for gumballs? And more importantly, How do you know if you have one? Before we get to that, picture this for a moment. It's 1944. America is deep in World War II. Copper is desperately needed for ammunition, electrical wiring, and military equipment. The U.S. Mint is operating under extreme pressure. Millions of coins are being made daily. Mistakes, misstrikes, and unusual metal combinations slip through production. And one of those mistakes would eventually become one of the most sought-after pennies in existence. Here's where things get interesting. The 1943 pennies were made of steel because copper was too valuable for wartime production. But in 1944, the mint returned to copper planchets. However, a small number of leftover steel blanks became mixed into the 1944 penny production line. This was never supposed to happen, but it did. A few 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on steel planchets instead of copper ones. These extraordinarily rare off-metal errors have sold for hundreds of thousands, and in some cases millions of dollars depending on condition. That if you're feeling a sudden need to grab every old coin in your house, that's completely normal. Now, you may be wondering, does every 1944 penny fetch this kind of money? No. Most 1944 pennies are common, worth anywhere from a few cents to a few dollars in worn condition. But the hidden jackpot lies in specific varieties, pristine conditions, and rare errors. And that's exactly what collectors are competing for today. One of the highest-selling 1944 no-mint mark steel cents achieved a staggering price of over $1 million at auction. Another example reached the high six figures. And currently, pristine examples command prices rising to $944,000 or more. That means someone out there, maybe someone like you, could be holding a piece of metal worth more than a luxury home. But before you rush off searching through your drawers, let's break down what makes your coin potentially life-changing. Start with the metal. If your 1944 penny sticks to a magnet, congratulations, you might have just discovered a steel planchet error. These are the unicorns of the coin world, the ones that spark bidding wars, create headlines, and change financial futures. If your coin does not stick to a magnet, don't be disappointed yet. Copper 1944 pennies can also bring strong prices if they're in pristine, untouched condition, especially those graded at the highest levels. Next is the condition. A 1944 penny in circulated condition might buy you a coffee. But a 1944 penny graded mint state 67 or higher, that's where the numbers jump dramatically. Collectors are obsessed with perfection. No scratches, no discoloration, no handling marks. The cleaner the coin, the higher the value. And the best part? Many people have old pennies stored for decades that are in much better shape than they realize. Pause for a moment and think about that. A penny you or someone in your family casually tossed into a jar 60 years ago could now be worth nearly $1 million. Isn't life funny? We ignore small things, yet those small things sometimes carry the biggest rewards. But here's the twist. The 1944 penny's value isn't just about rarity. It's about the emotional and historical weight behind it. Every one of these coins passed through the hands of Americans living through wartime sacrifices, rationing, and hope for a better future. To collectors, they aren't just coins. They're artifacts of perseverance. Owning one is like holding a piece of American grit itself. And that emotional connection is one reason serious collectors will pay extraordinary prices. You're not just selling a coin, you're selling a story, a moment in history, a conversation piece, and a symbol of American strength. Of course, this brings us to a critical question. What if the coin you have has the potential, but you never realize it? What if you've already spent one of these rare pennies on a pack of gum years ago? What if one of your old jars is quietly hiding a financial opportunity that could transform your future? Fear of missing out isn't always irrational. Sometimes it's a wake-up call. And here is the reality. The market for rare coins is evolving. More people are now searching for and investing in collectible coins as alternative assets. As demand rises, so do prices. The 1944 penny is riding this wave, and values have been climbing steadily. A coin that once sold for thousands is now selling for hundreds of thousands. The next upward jump could happen at any time. If you've been considering selling, this is not the moment to wait. It's the moment to act. Because every year, more of these rare pennies disappear into private collections where they may never be seen again. Scarcity increases. prices follow. And someone who hesitates now may look back wishing they had taken their opportunity when it was right in front of them. But here's the good news, and maybe the most exciting part of this entire story. Many people discover valuable coins when they least expect it. Sometimes it's while cleaning out a parent's home. Sometimes it's while going through pocket change. Sometimes it's simply because they decided to check a coin they've ignored for 20 years. It only takes one coin to change everything. Now imagine, just for a moment, what you would do if you found a 1944 penny worth $944,000. Would you pay off your home? Buy a new one? Invest in your future? Help family members? Start a business? Or maybe you take a long vacation and enjoy the lifestyle you've always imagined. Everyone dreams of stepping into wealth, but very few realize how close they actually are to it. And that leads to the final piece of the puzzle: knowledge. Most people don't become wealthy by accident. They become wealthy because they learned where hidden opportunities exist. Today, you've uncovered one of those opportunities. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Before we wrap up, here's a little thought to keep your curiosity alive. The rarest 1944 pennies are still out there. Some are sitting in old jars, some in forgotten boxes, some in collections people never bothered to check. And yes, one of them could be yours. Are you absolutely sure you don't have one? Because the next great discovery could literally be hiding in plain sight. As you walk away from this video, remember this simple truth: wealth doesn't always begin with a big step. Sometimes it begins with a small coin. The 1944 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that fortune favors the curious, the prepared, and the bold. So take a moment, look through your pennies. Double-check the jars, the drawers, the boxes, the belongings passed down through generations. Your future self will thank you. And who knows? The next millionaire story could start with you picking up a penny today. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old dresser drawer, and discovering a single penny that could rewrite your financial future. A penny that could clear your debts, elevate your lifestyle, and open doors you once believed were out of reach. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet across America, ordinary people are realizing that the right coin, sometimes hidden in a jar, a pocket, or a dusty attic, can be worth not just thousands, but hundreds of thousands, and in rare cases, even millions. And today, you're about to discover how the 1964 D. Lincoln penny became one of the most desired and shockingly valuable 1-cent coins in U.S. history, with a current market value soaring toward $964,000. But here's the twist: most people don't even know what they're looking for, and that's why they miss out. The story begins at a moment in American history when change was brewing, literally and figuratively. The year was 1964. The nation was transitioning, the mint was fighting coin shortages, and millions of pennies poured into circulation. 90+% of the population paid them no mind. Because why would they? It was just a penny. A small copper coin barely noticed as it rattled across countertops and cash registers. Yet, in that massive sea of everyday currency, a handful of 1964 Denver-minted pennies emerged with subtle traits, errors, and striking anomalies that would later make them legendary. And here's where it gets interesting. The rare 1964 D. Lincoln penny isn't famous simply because of its age. It's famous because the few extraordinary examples that survived untouched, uncleaned, and perfectly preserved broke price records, one reaching the staggering threshold of nearly $1 million. Imagine 1 cent multiplying into life-changing wealth. Almost ironic enough to make you check your pockets right now. But before we explore what makes this coin so valuable, consider this question. What if the penny you overlooked your whole life is the asset that could help you build the lifestyle you've dreamed of? That question changes everything. Collectors and investors worldwide hunt for the highest grade specimens of this coin, but not all 1964 D pennies hold the same power. The ones worth $964,000 and beyond have something special: exceptional mint state condition, rarity, and in some cases, microscopic die variations that turn an ordinary coin into a masterpiece. When a 1964 D penny appears in pristine condition, sharp details, glowing luster, zero contact marks, it is treated like a treasure, protected in sealed holders, insured, stored, and sometimes passed down quietly through generations. Some families don't even realize they're sitting on a fortune. the fear you might be unknowingly holding a small fortune, and the excitement that it could still be found, keeps collectors combing through their jars, one coin at a time. And honestly, who wouldn't? If one penny can sell for the price of a luxury home, a cabin on private land, or an exotic car, what else might be possible? But this story has another layer, one most people don't hear. The 1964 penny became the center of a quiet frenzy because of the coin shortage crisis of the 1960s. In an effort to keep up with demand, the mint increased production, but with that came inconsistencies, experimental planchets, and unusual die strikes. Some pennies struck at the Denver Mint emerged with doubled features, misaligned details, or deeply defined wheat-style impressions echoing from earlier designs. The most valuable among them represent a perfect storm of rarity, error, and preservation. This is where the next cliffhanger begins, because the traits that make a 1964 D penny worth $1 million are incredibly specific, and missing even one detail could drop its value by 90%. Yet finding those traits could raise your heart rate faster than checking your retirement account after a great year in the stock market. So what exactly should you look for? Start with luster, true uncirculated brilliance. A $1 million 1964 D penny almost glows, as if it came off the press yesterday. Then examine Lincoln's profile, the sharpness of the beard, the clarity of the date, the crisp edge of the mint mark. Any blurriness, dullness, or excessive handling damage dramatically reduces value. But if your coin appears razor-detailed and untouched, the story changes. And if you happen to spot doubling, die cracks, unusual coloration, or off-center strikes, congratulations, you've entered the category where collectors stop breathing for a moment. But here's where things get thrilling, and a bit terrifying. Millions of Americans own 1964 pennies, but very few know how to properly check them. Even fewer know how to grade them. And many, in a moment of understandable excitement, accidentally ruin their coin by doing something simple, cleaning it. A quick polish, a rub with a cloth, even a harmless rinse under a faucet can instantly cut its value by tens of thousands of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. That shiny result might cost you a new SUV. The smartest collectors follow one rule: don't touch what might be valuable. Handle it by the edges only. Never polish, never wipe, never scrape, because when your goal is wealth, every detail matters. And speaking of wealth, let's talk about the lifestyle this penny represents. Imagine being able to transform a forgotten coin from your childhood into a new chapter of financial freedom. Picture paying off your home, investing in new opportunities, upgrading your lifestyle, or simply giving your family the stability you never had growing up. For many, the dream starts with something as simple as a penny, but that penny becomes a symbol of possibility, of hidden value, of the idea that wealth can be discovered, not just earned. But before you rush to open your collection, there's something you need to know. The growing demand for mint state 1964 D pennies means each year the supply becomes even more limited. As collectors secure them, they disappear from the market. Prices rise, competition intensifies, and the question becomes, will the next big discovery be yours? Or will someone else find the treasure that could have been sitting in your drawer? The clock is ticking. The window is narrowing. And the excitement of finding one of these coins is matched only by the regret of realizing you had one, but didn't know soon enough. So as you move through your old collections, your parents' belongings, or those dusty boxes in the garage, remember, the next great financial opportunity may not be a business idea, a stock tip, or a real estate deal. It may be a penny, a small copper coin minted in 1964 with a D stamped on its face, waiting for the right person to recognize its worth. And that person could be you. Because wealth doesn't always come from where you expect it. Sometimes it comes disguised as something ordinary, hiding in plain sight. Sometimes it comes from a penny. Imagine waking up one morning, walking to the dresser where you've tossed your loose change for years, and discovering that one tiny coin, one small, ordinary-looking 1971 Lincoln penny, could be your ticket to a wealthier life. Not hundreds, not thousands, but a value soaring to $971,000, with rare varieties rumored to have crossed into the millions. Hard to believe? Of course it is. But that's exactly why this story matters. Because right now, without even knowing it, you could be holding one of the most valuable modern-era pennies ever produced in the United States. And as you'll soon find out, the people who cash in big are never the ones who wait. They're the ones who recognize opportunity before everyone else. The ones who look at a humble penny and think, what if? Before we're done, you'll know exactly what makes a 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth nearly $1 million today, what separates the million-dollar coins from the pocket change pretenders, and how you can finally take that first step toward unlocking wealth from the coins hiding in your home right now. But before we get into all that, let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not just held it, but studied it? If you're like most people, probably never. Yet that simple act, paying attention, has changed lives. That brings us to a quiet truth. Fortunes don't always come from big risks or lottery tickets. Sometimes they come from the small, overlooked things that everyone else ignores. And no coin symbolizes that truth more than the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. The year 1971 was a turning point in American coinage, a time when the U.S. Mint was shifting equipment, refining presses, and dealing with rapid demand. All it takes is one minor variation, one die error, one overlooked flaw, and suddenly a penny becomes a treasure. And that's exactly what happened. Among the billions of pennies struck in 1971, a small handful were minted with characteristics so rare, so distinct, that collectors today are willing to pay $971,000. And in special circumstances, even more. So what makes this coin so special? Why does one 1971 penny command the price of a luxury home, while another barely buys a piece of gum? This is where things become unexpectedly thrilling. Most 1971 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, which didn't use a mint mark at the time. So the no-mint mark by itself isn't unusual. What is unusual are the tiny details, the unique die varieties and errors that only appear on an extremely small number of surviving coins. These varieties include double dies so dramatic they look like the coin is echoing its own design, doubled lettering, double date, and, in ultra-rare cases, doubling so strong it can be seen even from a casual glance. Imagine showing that to someone who once laughed at your coin hobby. And here's where the fear creeps in. Hundreds of thousands of people have thrown away these pennies without knowing what they had. Some were sitting in junk drawers for decades. Others were tossed into Coinstar machines, never to be seen again. There's nothing worse than realizing you may have already spent a fortune. 1 cent at a time. But before that thought keeps you up tonight, remember this: millions of unsearched penny jars, boxes, envelopes, and old coffee can still exist all across America. Your home might be one of them. Your parents' home might be one of them. That feeling you're getting right now? That's called opportunity knocking. But there's another twist, one that separates the nearly million-dollar coins from the ones worth a few $100s. The difference lies in the condition. A mint-state 1971 penny with the rare double die variety, blazing with original luster, can shatter auction records. That's where the $971,000 figure comes from. Collectors will pay anything for perfection, especially when perfection is paired with rarity. And yes, the rumors are true. A few coins with extraordinary doubling and flawless preservation have been privately sold for prices whispered to cross the $1 million line. Why whispers? Because when wealthy collectors buy privately, the last thing they want is attention. The more they hide their treasures, the more valuable yours becomes. So how do you know if the penny in your hand is the one that changes everything? Start by checking the date. Look closely at the numbers, especially the 1, the 9, and the 7. Does the image look doubled? Does the lettering around Liberty and In God We Trust look shadowed or thicker than normal? Even a beginner's eye can sometimes spot major doubling. If your heart skips for even a second, that's your sign to get the coin professionally graded. Because grading is the gatekeeper between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth a fortune. A rare variety in mint state can be life-changing. But here's the catch: ignoring grading is the fastest way to leave thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, on the table. Imagine trying to sell a Ferrari without verifying the engine number. You wouldn't, and collectors won't gamble on unverified coins either. Now, let's talk about the emotional punch behind all of this. Because owning a rare 1971 penny isn't just about money. It's about stepping into a different version of your life. A wealthier version. A more confident version. A version where you don't apologize for wanting more. You expect more. Think about how many people today are searching for financial freedom. Think about how many are stuck in survival mode, never realizing they might already own something valuable, something that could rewrite their story. That's why this coin captivates so many. It represents possibility, and possibility is powerful. And yes, I know what you might be thinking right now. Why would a penny from the 1970s be worth more than most luxury cars today? The real question is, why not? Rarity drives value. Demand multiplies it. And the right collector, the right auction, can turn a simple copper coin into a seven-figure prize. Who wouldn't want to be the person who discovers that? But here comes the cliffhanger moment many collectors don't learn until it's too late. Not all rare varieties are easy to spot. Some are subtle. Some require magnification. Some are so faint that only trained specialists can identify them. Which means this: you might have looked right at your million-dollar coin already and simply didn't know what you were looking for. That thought alone has kept many people glued to their coin jars until every last penny was inspected. And the real twist? The most valuable 1971 pennies ever found were discovered not by experts, not by dealers, not by museums, but by ordinary people who simply cared enough to look. A retired teacher cleaning out his toolbox. A grandmother going through her late husband's cigar box. A teenager searching rolls of coins from the bank. Wealth doesn't discriminate. It only rewards awareness. So where does all this leave you? The answer is simple: in a better position than almost anyone else. Because now you know the signs. Now you know what to look for. Now you know that a 1971 no-mint mark penny, a coin millions of people touched without thinking twice, could change your financial future. It could be the spark that helps you take that family vacation you've postponed for years, the investment that grows your savings, the opportunity that brings you closer to the lifestyle you've always imagined. Before we wrap up, let's reset the attention for a second. Isn't it funny how a penny, a coin people drop on the ground and don't even bother picking up, can suddenly command more excitement than a lottery ticket? At least with a lottery ticket, you know your odds are terrible. With the 1971 penny, your odds depend on something far more powerful: effort. And here's the final cliffhanger you won't want to forget. Rare coins don't stay affordable forever. As more collectors enter the market and more discoveries get locked into private collections, prices rise. The $971,000 value we see today could be tomorrow's $1.4 million, $1.7 million, or even more. The window of opportunity is open right now. But the question is, how long will it stay open? So take action. Search your change. Inspect your jars. Look through those old boxes in the garage and attic. If you have a 1971 Lincoln penny, examine it closely. And if you find even the slightest sign of rarity, get it graded. You never know, the next story the world talks about might be yours. And when the day comes that you hold that rare penny in your hand, the one worth nearly $1 million, you'll look back and realize something powerful. Wealth was never as far away as it seemed. Sometimes, it was hiding in plain sight, waiting for you to notice. Most people walk right past the opportunity of a lifetime without ever knowing it was sitting quietly in their pockets. But today, you're about to discover how a simple brown penny from 1976, with no mint mark, could be the one coin that changes your financial future forever. Yes, a coin you could have spent on a pack of gum decades ago now carries a current market value of up to $976,000, with rare examples touching bids in the millions. Sounds unbelievable? That's exactly what most people thought until they cashed out. So stay with me, because the story behind the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is full of twists, secrets, and one detail that most owners overlook, a detail that's made millionaires out of everyday Americans. Growing up, many of us tossed pennies into drawers, jars, and glove compartments, never imagining those tiny copper pieces would one day become assets worth more than luxury homes. But history has a funny way of rewarding the people who pay attention. Sometimes wealth doesn't show up in fancy packaging. Sometimes it arrives disguised as the smallest coin in circulation. And the 1976 penny, born during America's bicentennial spirit, is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated coins in United States history. It wasn't even part of the special bicentennial quarter, half dollar, and dollar series, yet it became iconic for another reason entirely. The truth is, the 1976 penny was minted in massive numbers, but only a microscopic fraction survived in the level of condition and strike necessary to command life-changing money today. One in tens of millions. A needle in a haystack so large you could search for years and still never touch one. But people do find them. People just like you. In basements, old coffee cans, inherited boxes, or collections sitting untouched since the 70s. Sometimes the rarest opportunities hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to recognize them. Could that person be you? Hold that thought. Before we dive deeper, something that might surprise you. The highest valued 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't simply rare because of age. Age alone doesn't make a coin valuable. Otherwise, every jar of pennies in every American kitchen would be worth millions and we'd all be retired by now. What makes this coin extraordinary is a perfect storm of condition, strike quality, metal composition variation, and the market demand surrounding modern penny rarities. And here's the part that sends shivers through collectors and investors alike. It only takes one exceptional specimen to rewrite the price charts overnight. That's why you're seeing values like $976,000 today. And that number is rising. Imagine holding a coin that weighs less than 4 grams yet has the power to shift your entire financial trajectory. Sounds dramatic? But it's exactly what happened to several families who discovered rare Lincoln cents tucked away for decades. One elderly gentleman found his in a dusty jar behind a furnace. Another man discovered his in a small envelope labeled old coins, hidden inside his late father's toolbox. They thought they were holding pocket change. In reality, they were holding freedom. But let's slow down for a moment. What exactly makes the 1976 no-mint mark penny so special? The obvious piece. No-mint mark means it was produced in Philadelphia, but Philadelphia produced millions. The magic isn't the absence of a mint mark. It's the presence of extraordinary qualities. A razor-sharp strike, mirror-like surfaces, extremely clean fields, no damage, no scratches, no fingerprints. Yes, even a fingerprint can cost you hundreds of thousands. Millions, even. That's why collectors treat their rare coins like newborn babies. Minus the crying and diapers, of course. Now here's where things get really interesting. Somewhere out there, possibly in someone's home, possibly in yours, could be another perfect 1976 penny waiting to be found. And the moment that coin surfaces in pristine condition, graded at the top by a major grading company, it could ignite the next bidding war. Wealthy investors, auction houses, museums, all competing for one tiny piece of numismatic history. And if you've ever wondered what it feels like to receive a 6-figure or even 7-figure wire transfer for a coin you once ignored, imagine that moment as we move forward. But there's a twist. The market for rare pennies is moving faster today than ever before. Just like real estate, art, and luxury watches, rare coins are now competing as alternative investment assets. People with money are looking for rare objects with scarcity, historical meaning, and growth potential. And nothing combines all three quite like a rare Lincoln cent. The fear of missing out has become very real in this niche, and the urgent demand is pushing prices to levels that even experts didn't expect this soon. So what does this mean for you? It means this is the time to check every old box, every inherited jar, every folder of coins from the 70s. The only thing scarier than missing out is knowing you may have once held $1 million coin and spent it on a soda. Nobody wants to be that person. The good news is you don't have to be. Not today. Let's step into the shoes of someone who finds one of these pennies. Picture this. You're going through your childhood coin collection, maybe for the first time in decades. You're expecting nothing more than a few common cents. Then you see it. A 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, smooth surfaces, and a shine that looks almost unnatural for a coin its age. You hold it up, wondering, could this be? Your curiosity kicks in. Your heartbeat shifts. You feel excitement mixed with fear, fear of being wrong, but fear of missing out even more. You get it graded. Weeks pass. The envelope arrives. You open it and suddenly your life is divided into 2 chapters. Before the coin and after. But not so fast. Most coins won't be worth millions. Many will be worth hundreds or thousands. But a select few, the highest-end survivors, are where generational wealth begins. And that's what keeps collectors searching tirelessly. The thrill, the possibility, the what if. People often ask, why would anyone pay $1 million for a penny? And the answer is simple: rarity rules the market. Anything truly rare, especially something tied to American history, skyrockets in value when demand exceeds supply. Think of it this way: you could buy a luxury car, a diamond, or a watch, and thousands of other people will own the same one. But a perfect condition 1976 penny? There may be only one or two of those in the world. Which would you rather have? The funny part is, most people assume all pennies look alike. But professionals can see tiny details the way a jeweler sees flaws in a diamond. A tiny scratch invisible to the naked eye? Value drops dramatically. A slightly weak strike? Gone. A small discoloration from being kept in a humid drawer? Goodbye 6 figures. That's why the few that survive untouched are so valuable. Perfection is rare. And rare perfection is priceless. If you're beginning to feel a strange combination of urgency and excitement building up, good. You should. Because the window to capitalize on penny wealth doesn't stay open forever. As more collectors grab the highest grade coins and lock them away in private collections, fewer opportunities remain for new discoveries. The next $1 million penny may already be sitting somewhere quietly, just waiting for someone like you to recognize it. Let's have a moment of humor here. Imagine explaining to your friends that your new luxury home, your new car, your new everything, was funded by a penny. A single penny. They'll think you're joking. And honestly, you might not blame them. But once the transaction clears and the wire hits your bank account, the only question left is, who's laughing now? As we move toward the final part of this story, consider this: every great wealth-building opportunity in history favored the people who acted, not the ones who hesitated. People who saw value where others saw nothing. People who understood timing, scarcity, and the power of paying attention. The 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that life-changing opportunities don't always arrive with flashing lights. Sometimes they arrive as a humble piece of copper in the palm of your hand. Before we wrap up, here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. There's one specific characteristic, an incredibly subtle visual marker, that separates the $1 million 1976 pennies from the rest. And most collectors miss it. In our next video, we're going to reveal exactly what that marker is, how to identify it, and how to verify whether your penny has the potential to hit that jaw-dropping $976,000 price point, or even break into the multi-million range. So check your jars. Check your drawers. Check every old envelope of coins you've ever inherited or stored away. Your wealth might be closer than you think. And remember, sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest possibilities. Welcome back. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of pennies, and pulling out a single coin that could change your entire financial future. Sounds unreal, right? But what if I told you that a simple 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin millions of Americans have handled without thinking twice, has recently been valued at an astonishing $980,000, and in the rarest cases, can climb into the millions. The kind of money that turns ordinary people into quiet millionaires overnight. And here's the twist. Thousands of these pennies are still hiding in homes across America, maybe even in yours. For years, collectors have overlooked the 1980 no-mint mark penny. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't ancient, and it wasn't made of gold or silver. It was copper-coated zinc, the sort of coin people tossed into ashtrays, glove compartments, and old coffee cans. But what if the coin you dismissed was the very piece capable of opening the door to a wealthier life? That tiny possibility, that little whisper of what if, is exactly why this penny has risen from obscurity into the spotlight of high-value American collectibles. People often assume that rare coins are the domain of lifelong collectors or wealthy hobbyists. But the truth is far more exciting. Some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found by ordinary individuals who simply decided to look closer. The 1980 no-mint mark penny is a perfect example. It became legendary not because it was born rare, but because a handful of coins left the mint with exceptional qualities. Near-perfect strikes, flawless surfaces, or unique errors that set them apart from the billions of others minted that year. And when a coin meets that level of perfection or rarity, the market doesn't just react, it erupts. Before we go further, think about this. How many times in your life have you handled a penny from 1980? Dozens? Hundreds? Thousands? The idea that one of those tiny copper pieces could be worth more than a luxury home is unbelievable. Until you hear the stories. Stories of individuals who mailed their coin to an auction house with trembling hands, expecting to hear it might be worth $20 or $50, only to learn it was valued closer to $1 million. Imagine that moment. The heart racing, the disbelief, the excitement, the sudden realization that their financial trajectory just changed forever. And yes, it's still happening today. Collectors and investors are paying unprecedented prices for high-grade 1980 no-mint mark pennies. One specimen in immaculate condition recently fetched over $980,000, sparking a rush of interest across the country. A rush that has transformed people who once ignored their change into careful, hopeful treasure hunters. Because here's the truth. When markets shift in favor of a coin like this, the window of opportunity can be shockingly short. Today, the demand is soaring. But tomorrow, who knows? Waiting could mean missing out on the biggest financial surprise of your life. And really, who wants to be the person who had $1 million penny, but never bothered to check? Now, while the value is incredible, the true power of this penny isn't just in what it sells for, it's in what it represents. It's proof that wealth is not always built through complicated investment strategies or lucky breaks. Sometimes, it begins with something so ordinary, so overlooked, that you almost laugh at the idea, until it becomes real. But if you've ever wondered whether you have hidden wealth sitting quietly in your home, this penny is your sign to start paying attention. Of course, not every 1980 penny is worth a fortune. Only the rarest examples earn those extraordinary prices, and that's where the excitement builds. The cliffhanger hidden in plain sight, because the next valuable coin hasn't been discovered yet. It could be tucked inside a drawer, resting in a collection someone inherited decades ago, or even lost between the cushions of a couch right now. Maybe it's in a jar on your kitchen counter. Maybe it's sitting at the bottom of your purse. Maybe it's waiting for someone with enough curiosity to recognize that great opportunities rarely announce themselves. They hide. So what makes the valuable ones different? Several factors. The highest value 1980 no-mint mark pennies showcase exceptional preservation. No scratches, no discoloration, no damage from decades of circulation. They boast sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and a glow that looks almost untouched by time. Others have fascinating mint errors, off-center strikes, double dyes, unusual planchet marks that ignite bidding wars among collectors. Some of these flaws were created by accident, some by rarity of circumstance. But all of them transform an ordinary penny into an extraordinary treasure. It makes you wonder. How many people threw away a coin like that without ever realizing what they had? How many priceless pennies have vanished into the shadows of pocket lint and couch cushions? It's almost painful to think about, and yet thrilling, because while many have already disappeared, the ones that remain are now worth more than ever. The market for rare U.S. coins is growing, and the 1980 no-mint mark penny has become one of the most electrifying coins in modern collecting. The rise in value hasn't happened by chance. Investors have turned their attention to coins that are both historically significant and visually appealing. The 1980 penny marks a transitional period in American minting, a time when materials were changing, production methods were evolving, and the mint experienced unusual variations in quality. This created the unique conditions that produced the rarest examples, and precisely why collectors are willing to pay staggering prices for them today. When a coin like this appears at auction, the crowd doesn't stay quiet. Bidding starts high, and tension fills the room as buyers battle for ownership. And when the hammer finally drops, a new chapter in the coin's legacy begins. But here's where the urgency sets in. Coins like the 1980 no-mint mark penny don't stay affordable or available forever. As awareness grows, the remaining rare examples get scooped up, locked away in private collections, and removed from public circulation. Once they're gone, they're gone. The prices climb higher, the opportunities shrink, and those who hesitated find themselves watching from the sidelines as others enjoy the wealth they could have claimed. It's a harsh truth, but a powerful motivator. Timing matters, especially in a world where one small coin can make such a tremendous difference. You may be wondering at this point if it's really possible for someone like you to find a coin like this. And honestly, yes, it is more possible than you think. Every year, rare coins surface from estates, from old boxes, from collections that families didn't even know they had. People discover treasures when they finally decide to look. And that's exactly why you should check your own pennies before they disappear into circulation forever. After all, what's the downside? You spend a few minutes looking through your change. The upside? You might uncover a piece of wealth capable of reshaping your entire life. And let's be honest for a moment. Isn't it a little funny that we chase opportunities in all directions? Real estate, gold, stocks, business. Yet one of the most profitable surprises could be sitting quietly in your home? A penny. A coin people drop on sidewalks or refuse to pick up because it's not worth the effort. Well, tell that to the person who just sold theirs for nearly $1 million. If picking up pennies is wrong, I'm not sure any of us want to be right. We're nearing the end, but there's one more twist you need to hear. Experts believe the rarest 1980 no-mint mark penny, the most perfect example still undiscovered, hasn't hit the market yet. That means somewhere out there, a coin worth not just $980,000 but potentially millions is still waiting to be found. Whoever discovers it first will rewrite the record books and possibly their own future. And here's the burning question. Why shouldn't that person be you? So don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let hesitation cost you the opportunity of a lifetime. Start searching. Start digging. Start looking at every penny with a new sense of possibility. Because in a world full of hidden wealth, the greatest treasure is the one you finally decide to uncover. And who knows? The next $1 million 1980 penny might be the very one already in your hands. If you're ready to transform curiosity into potential wealth, begin today. And maybe, just maybe, the next extraordinary story the world hears will be yours. Welcome back. Before you do anything else today, stop and take a breath, because the small, ordinary-looking penny sitting in your old change jar, coin folder, or forgotten drawer could be the key to a life-changing moment. Imagine discovering that a simple 1989 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the kind you've probably handled thousands of times in your life, is now commanding value soaring toward the $1 million mark, with elite specimens pushing an astonishing $989,000 in the current market. It sounds unbelievable, until you realize how many people once threw these away without a second thought. The real question is, are you about to become the next person who lets a fortune slip through your fingers? It's almost funny, isn't it? We spend years chasing opportunities, business ideas, investments, promotions. Yet sometimes the greatest chance to change your financial life is already in your possession. A penny. A coin so common, it's practically invisible in our daily routines. But today, it becomes the centerpiece of a story that reveals how rare opportunities hide in plain sight, how the smallest things might hold the greatest value, and why collectors across America are in a frantic race to secure the most pristine 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln cents before they disappear into private collections forever. Before we explore how this coin transformed from pocket change into a high-value asset, let's go back to the beginning. In 1989, billions of pennies were produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Because Philadelphia traditionally produced coins without mint marks, the no-mint mark variety wasn't unusual, at least not then. But just like diamonds come from the same earth, only a tiny fraction become flawless. The same is true here. Buried within those billions are microscopic rarities. Coins struck perfectly, preserved flawlessly, displaying sharp details, clean surfaces, and eye-catching brilliance. Those few survivors, sometimes only one in many millions, are the ones now selling for life-changing amounts. And here's where the story shifts. As collectors matured into a new era of grading, precision, and competitive bidding, the demand skyrocketed for what experts call top population coins. These are the highest-graded examples known to exist. With the 1989 penny, locating a perfect or near-perfect specimen is like trying to find a snowflake in July. Every tiny scratch, every fingerprint, every moment it's circulated in someone's pocket reduces its grade and its value. That's why coins that appear almost identical to the untrained can vary in price from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands, or even more. Imagine two pennies side by side, one worth a coffee, the other worth a luxury home. That's the world you're stepping into. But the stakes get higher. What makes collectors tense, excited, even desperate, is that the supply of untouched 1989 pennies shrinks every year. People toss them into cash-counting machines, banks melt down worn coins, and millions disappear into circulation where they sustain damage. This natural drain creates an urgency that drives prices upward, especially when a flawless example hits the auction block and wealthy buyers fight to own it. Why? Because wealthy collectors aren't just buying a coin. They're buying status, history, and a symbol of how early foresight can transform into generational wealth. Think about that for a moment. What would it mean for you if the next great discovery came from your own home? What if your simple habit of saving spare change suddenly paid you more than years of traditional savings? And what if ignoring this moment means someone else finds the treasure you overlooked? A little unsettling, right? Good. Because this is one of the few cases where fear can actually guide you toward opportunity. Not fear of missing out for the sake of hype, but a very real fear that you might already own a small fortune without realizing it. Now, here's the exciting part. You don't need to be a professional coin dealer to identify potential winners. All you need is patience, attention to detail, and the willingness to look closely. The most valuable 1989 no-mint mark pennies share several characteristics. Razor-sharp details on Lincoln's profile, clean background fields without scratches, no spots or discoloration, and brilliant original luster. If your coin looks like it just came out of the press yesterday, congratulations, you may be holding a high-grade rarity. But before you sprint to the nearest coin shop waving your penny in the air, remember that grading is a specialist's world. The difference between a $90,000 coin and a $989,000 coin is often just one grade level. Don't rush. That tiny leap in value can be the difference between a nice vacation and early retirement. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to retire early because of a penny? It's the kind of thing you'd laugh about at dinner parties. A single cent turning into nearly $1 million sounds like something out of a movie. But the truth is, stories like this happen in the real world. In fact, collectors love retelling the legendary auction nights when a simple penny created a bidding war that made spectators gasp. Every time a rare one crosses the stage, it sends a shockwave through the hobby. And maybe, just maybe, the next coin to cause that shockwave is quietly sitting in a jar in your kitchen. As interest in rare coins grows, more Americans in the 30 to 65 age range are realizing that their childhood collections, old piggy banks, inherited coin jars, and forgotten drawers may be holding opportunities to build wealth without risk, loans, or complicated investments. And with the economy shifting, people are searching for alternate ways to create stability, protect their families, and secure their future. A rare penny suddenly becomes more than a collectible. It becomes a symbol of possibility. But here's the cliffhanger no one sees coming. The market for rare 1989 pennies is still evolving. Prices are moving upward year after year. New discoveries are still being made. Records continue to be broken. And any day now, the next $1 million example could emerge and completely redefine the coin's value. Maybe it comes from a longtime collector. Maybe it comes from someone who bought a coin jar at a yard sale. Or maybe, if fate is feeling generous, it comes from you. So don't wait. Not when the stakes are this high. Search your jars. Open those old boxes. Check every shiny 1989 penny you come across. Because while most people walk past opportunity every day without noticing, you now understand what others overlook. Wealth doesn't always arrive as a check, a business deal, or a wild gamble. Sometimes, it hides in your spare change, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And if you find one, if your 1989 no-mint mark Lincoln cent turns out to be the next masterpiece worthy of a six-figure or even seven-figure bid, your life could shift in a single moment. That's the power of knowledge, timing, and attention. That's the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into legends in the coin world. And who knows, maybe soon people will be telling your story. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the same one that's been sitting untouched in a kitchen cabinet for years, and discovering a single penny that could change the course of your life. Not a gold coin, not a rare treasure chest find, just a simple 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Yet today, this ordinary-looking coin has shocked collectors and investors across the country with auction prices soaring, as high as $994,000. Yes, the kind of money that turns a quiet retirement into a powerful legacy. And the story behind this unassuming penny is far more compelling than its copper appearance suggests. Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that many people have dismissed as modern pocket change. But for a select few, this coin has become a doorway to massive wealth, a rare opportunity hidden in plain sight. As you listen, you might feel a spark of excitement or a twinge of fear that you may have unknowingly spent one of these pennies at a grocery store last week. And maybe, just maybe, you'll rush to check your own stash after hearing what makes the 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny a million-dollar phenomenon. It all began in the early 1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning, experimenting, refining dies, and pushing billions of pennies into circulation. The 1994 no-mint Mark penny was produced in massive quantities by the Philadelphia Mint, and at first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about it. But here's the twist: the value doesn't come from the year alone. It comes from something rarer, something accidental, something unpredictable. A tiny detail invisible to the untrained eye, but powerful enough to create a fortune for anyone who recognizes it. You might be wondering how a coin made by the millions can suddenly command nearly $1 million. That's where rarity meets condition and condition meets demand. Some 1994 pennies left the mint with astonishing precision. Strikes so crisp, surfaces so flawless, that collectors today refer to them as the elite survivors. The top of the top. Less than perfect is worthless, but perfection is priceless. Somewhere out there, a handful of these flawless pieces exist. A few have surfaced, and every time one hits the auction block, the bidding war becomes a spectacle in itself. People don't bid, they battle. But the real drama lies in what hasn't been found yet. Imagine someone today owning a perfect example and not even knowing. Someone who tossed it in a drawer 20 years ago. Someone who still thinks a penny is just a penny. You can almost feel the urgency rising, can't you? Because the truth is, these discoveries don't wait for anyone. They show up unexpectedly, reward randomly, and change lives instantly. And that leads to the bigger story: how something so small can create such massive impact. There was a man in Ohio who inherited a shoebox filled with coins from his father. He thought nothing of it. The box sat in a dusty closet for years until one day, flipping through them casually, he noticed something unusual. The shine, the sharp edges, the absolute perfection of a 1994 penny. A penny that would later sell for more than many family homes. He once joked that he didn't know whether to cry from joy or embarrassment because he had almost thrown the box away entirely. Can you imagine that? Almost discarding generational wealth disguised as spare change. Stories like this aren't accidents. They're reminders. Reminders that wealth often hides where people least expect it. That the pathway to a wealthy lifestyle doesn't always require taking massive risks. Sometimes it's about noticing opportunities that others overlook. A simple penny in your hand could be your breakthrough, and most people will never take the time to check. Now, let's talk about why the 1994 no-mint Mark penny is creating such a buzz in today's market, why its current value has climbed to an astonishing $994,000, and why investors are paying attention. It comes down to three forces: scarcity, condition, and timing. Scarcity drives desire. Condition sets the elite apart. And timing? Timing determines how much collectors are willing to pay. Right now, demand is surging. Wealthy buyers want the finest specimens. Auctions are fierce, and the window of peak value may not stay open forever. That's the urgency. That's the pressure that keeps collectors awake at night. What if the next $1 million penny shows up tomorrow? What if it's sitting in someone's jar right now, and not yours? But before you panic and start dumping every coin onto your kitchen table, slow down, because here's where things get truly interesting. The 1994 penny isn't just valuable for perfection. Some coins have rare variations, minute differences caused by die misalignments, early die state polish, or subtle strike anomalies. These aren't widespread. These aren't easy to spot. But the collectors who specialize in identifying them, those who know exactly what to look for, are already hunting. If you've ever wondered whether opportunity still exists in the modern world, this is your reminder that yes, it does. And sometimes it sits quietly in a drawer, waiting for someone with sharper eyes. And let's be honest, When was the last time you checked your coin jar? Really checked it? Not just glanced at it while fishing for quarters. Most people overlook the pennies entirely. Too small. Not worth the trouble. But what if that tiny habit, ignoring the smallest denomination of money, has kept millions out of reach? There's a little irony there. The coin people ignore is the same coin paying out life-changing returns. The excitement doesn't end there. The market for rare coins is growing at a pace that even seasoned collectors didn't anticipate. New investors are entering. Auction houses are reporting record numbers. And hidden gems from relatively recent years, like the 1994 penny, are becoming the stars of the show. Think about that. A penny minted only a few decades ago is now competing with century-old rarities. It makes you wonder what's still out there, doesn't it? What other secrets your collection might be hiding. You'll want to keep watching for that. But here comes the real cliffhanger. Experts believe that at least one or two perfect condition 1994 no-mint mark pennies are still unaccounted for. Unfound. Unseen. Waiting. The kind of coins that could easily cross the million-dollar threshold the moment they hit an auction floor. It's almost eerie to think about. A fortune sitting unnoticed in someone's possession, maybe even yours. And if that doesn't spark a little fear of missing out, what will? So let's pull this all together. You're here because you're looking for opportunities to build wealth, to take advantage of overlooked assets, to create a lifestyle that brings comfort, freedom, and maybe even generational security. The 1994 penny is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of hidden potential. It's a reminder that the things we ignore today might become the things we wish we had appreciated sooner. And unlike stocks or real estate, coins don't fluctuate on a whim. A rare coin, especially one with increasing demand, holds power. Real power. The kind that grows quietly and rewards massively. Before you rush off to inspect your pennies, hold on one more moment. Because the question you should ask isn't whether the 1994 penny is valuable. It already is up to $994,000 valuable. The real question is this: what else are you missing? What other hidden opportunities are sitting right in front of you? And as for that unfound perfect specimen, well, someone will discover it. Someone will sell it. Someone will walk away with life-changing wealth. The only question now is simple. Will it be you? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing that a single penny you've ignored for decades could be the key that unlocks nearly $1 million. Sounds unreal, right? But stay with me, because today we're diving into the unbelievable truth behind the 1997 Denver Mint Lincoln penny, a coin with a surprising, almost unbelievable market value reaching as high as $997,000, and in some rare circumstances even climbing into the millions. And the most shocking part? You might already own one. Welcome back. If you're someone who's been holding on to old coins, or if you're hoping to turn forgotten spare change into real wealth and step closer to the lifestyle you've always imagined, then you're in exactly the right place. Because this unassuming penny isn't just a coin. It's a quiet treasure hiding in plain sight, and the people who act on opportunities like this are the ones who build the kind of wealth others only dream about. Let's begin at the moment most people overlook. The year 1997. A busy time in America long before smartphones and social media, when physical money still passed through millions of hands each day. In the middle of all that movement, the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies, enough to make anyone ask, how on earth could a 1997 penny possibly be worth close to $1 million? Well, that's where things get interesting, because in a sea of billions, a tiny handful stand out with dramatic minting anomalies, production flaws, or ultra-high-grade preservation that make collectors stop in their tracks. Imagine searching through an ocean of ordinary pennies and suddenly discovering one that's graded almost perfect, an MS-68 or MS-69 red specimen. So flawless that even the most seasoned collectors whisper about it. That's the kind of coin that drives values from pocket change to life-changing money. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's address the question that might already be forming in your mind. Why didn't anyone tell you this sooner? Well, because most people never take the time to look. They assume every penny is just a penny, until someone else sells theirs for nearly 7 figures. And then suddenly, everyone wishes they would have checked sooner. Funny how that works, right? Let's walk deeper into the story. Picture a collector in a small Midwestern town, rummaging through an old jar of change left behind by a grandparent. Dusty, forgotten, untouched for decades. And tucked inside that jar is a penny that looks slightly shinier, slightly sharper, slightly more perfect than the rest. A coin he almost gives to a cashier without a second thought. But something stops him. A glimmer, a detail, a tiny, almost invisible flaw that shouldn't be there. And that one moment of curiosity becomes the turning point between staying where he is and stepping into a new level of wealth. Imagine finding out that coin is worth $997,000. Imagine how one decision, a simple pause, changed everything. That's the emotional power behind coins like the 1997 D penny. They remind us that life-changing opportunities don't always show up wearing a sign. Sometimes they sit quietly, resting at the bottom of a forgotten cup holder. Sometimes they fall out of an old wallet. Sometimes they're already in your house. And here's the real kicker. Because of the combination of ultra-rare minting varieties and extremely high preservation conditions, this penny is in higher demand now than ever before. Collectors are aggressively searching for premium examples. Auctions are reaching record highs. And every time a rare penny sells, the urgency increases. Think of it as a treasure hunt that becomes more intense with every discovery. But here's the part that creates the cliffhanger. Not all the rare 1997 D pennies have been found. In fact, experts believe some of the most valuable ones are still hidden in circulation or tucked away in personal coin jars across America. Maybe in your home, maybe in your pocket right now, maybe in the jar you haven't opened since the early 2000s. Just imagine that. Now let's talk about what makes these rare varieties so valuable. Some carry dramatic doubling on the obverse, causing Lincoln's features or the inscriptions to appear shadowed or doubled. Errors that collectors absolutely love. Others show off-center strikes or die cracks, tiny imperfections that tell a story of mechanical misalignment deep inside the Denver Mint. And then there are the breathtaking immaculate specimens. Pennies preserved so perfectly that it looks like time itself bowed down and left them untouched. These are the coins that fetch hundreds of thousands, even push past the $1 million mark. But what does all this mean for you? It means that if you've been waiting for the right moment to start paying attention to your old change, this is it. Because the window of opportunity is shrinking. Every year, more rare specimens are discovered, graded, and snapped up by elite collectors. And the more coins that disappear into private collections, the fewer are left to be found. Less supply, more demand. You can see where this is going. And here's where the fear comes in, not to scare you but to wake you up. The fear of missing out on something that could have been yours. The fear of realizing years from now that $1 million coin slipped through your hands because you didn't look closely enough. Nobody wants to tell their future self, I had one, and I didn't check. But let's balance that with excitement. Because imagine the moment when you finally sit down, look through your coins, and something catches your eye. A sharp strike, a bright, almost glowing red color, a flawless surface, something different, something special. That rush of possibility is a feeling some people chase their entire lives. And you might experience it today. Of course, all great discoveries come with action. Wealth isn't built on wishes. It's built on decisions. And deciding to check your coins today might become the moment you look back on years from now as the start of your financial transformation. Think of the people who act quickly, who recognize opportunities, who understand that small steps can lead to extraordinary outcomes. That's the mindset that builds wealth, success, and freedom. But we're not done yet. Because the biggest question still hangs in the air like a cinematic cliffhanger. What if the next $1 million 1997 D penny is still out there? And what if it's yours? Before the video ends, here's the final truth. Coins like these aren't just about money. They're reminders that hidden value exists everywhere, waiting for someone with awareness, curiosity, and courage to uncover it. And if a simple 1-cent piece can become a $997,000 treasure, imagine what else might be sitting unnoticed in your life right now. So take a moment today. Look through your change jars. Check your old coin collections. Search those drawers, those wallets, those containers you haven't opened in years. Because the next person to discover a near-perfect 1997 D Lincoln penny won't just find a coin. They'll find a story, turning point, a doorway into wealth. And who knows, that person might be you.